If it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid. If it's janky and it works, it's still jank. By this logic, I put forth that jank isn't stupid. In fact, I would like to assert that it's actually very important. Not as an end goal, but as a symbol that you are willing to try things that you're not already good at. The first step to being good at something is to be bad at it. And that is where jank comes to life. Jank comes from the heart of someone who is willing to attempt something that they have no prior expertise in. I have always admired jank, but was never willing to engage in it. I always thought jank looked cool, but I never wanted to rely on janky solutions, especially because I didn't have the confidence that I would be able to actually make it work. So I was paralyzed by inaction. I would wait until someone with expertise was willing to help me and either hold my hand through it or do it for me. I didn't just dive in and try my own hand at things, and I missed out on a ton of opportunities to develop life skills as a result. But that all changed recently. I went on a journey where I waded into the depths of jank. And over the month of January, we're going to bring you along on that adventure and show you all the different janky projects we completed over the course of this year. And I invite you to also try your hand at projects where you know you probably won't do the best job. But more than anything, what's important is we're going to try. We're going to fail. We're going to have fun. And we are going to learn. Welcome to Jankuary! Where did this all come from? To find out, we have to go all the way back to 2023 when my brother decided to build his dream Windows XP machine so that we could have a Windows XP LAN party. In the process of going through all the old photos of the LAN parties we attended in the early 2000s as teenagers, I found myself admiring all the janky setups. Holes cut in the sides of cases, systems running multiple power supplies because they couldn't afford to buy one with higher wattage. Water cooling mounted haphazardly in cases that weren't designed for it. I wanted to recapture that spirit for myself, but I wasn't sure how. Eventually, I decided I was going to take an older all-in-one computer, strap a GPU to it with zip ties, install Windows XP on it, and that would be my XP gaming machine. It actually wasn't a particularly difficult project, until it came time to power it. I had a friend who insisted it was no big deal to splice ATX power supply cables onto an Xbox 360 power supply. So that's what we did. But unfortunately, the graphics card I wanted to use required more power than a single Xbox power supply could handle. So we made two. This project got me comfortable with the idea of opening stuff up and cutting it up, so I decided to up the ante. I had an Xbox 360 and a PlayStation 3 kicking around. And after watching Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan switch bodies in the movie Freaky Friday, I got an idea. One that will be coming out in a video later this month. Stay tuned for that. After doing a couple of these projects though, something clicked in me. I stopped being paralyzed by fear of failure when it came time to do things around the house. And I got a lot more comfortable figuring out my own solutions to household problems. I had a really nice dual monitor arm I wasn't using because the clamp didn't open up wide enough for my desk. So I didn't use the clamp. I got my drill out, took the clamp off, made a couple holes in the desk, and attached it with some really thick bolts. And later on, when the USB port on my Bose Bluetooth speaker broke, instead of throwing it out, I learned how to solder and replaced it. It may not be pretty, but it works again. I feel like a whole new man, and I'm addicted to it. Now, to be clear, I'm not addicted to doing a poor job of things. I actually think it's very important to try your hardest to do a good job. But when you do inevitably make mistakes, I've learned to not get upset by them. You fix it if you can, or patch it up and work around it if you can't. When the plastic lining on my car's inner fender broke on the way to Whale Land last year, Dan and I were in the middle of rural Alberta in the evening with no shops open. So with just some zip ties and brute force, we got the car drivable again. And those ad hoc repairs have held up to this day. After my last relationship ended, I had to sell the gaming PC that was attached to my living room TV because, frankly, I was only really using it for streaming and I needed the money. But over the course of Jankuary, we'll be replacing that media PC with something a little cooler. Something that fits in with my 1970s stereo equipment. Something that, under the hood, requires a touch of jank. Thinking back on all these projects, there are things I would have done differently. And if I find myself doing something similar in the future, I know I'll do a better job, because after each one of these, I took the time to sit down and think about what went well and what needed improvement. I then tried to internalize those lessons so that I could add a point to those skill trees, metaphorically speaking. If you don't do a post-mortem, you're basically choosing not to level up. Analyzing what you did and how you would do it better is how you go from doing janky work to good work, and eventually great work. But it all starts with jank. And by now, I hope I've convinced you of the importance of being janky.